The Seattle Mariners need to make this trade with the Tampa Bay Rays. Let's talk about it. Yes, another video where we are not at our usual filming location, but I feel like this was a topic that really needed to be discussed after I did some research on it yesterday. So Adam Jude came out with an article kind of discussing the possible options for the Seattle Mariners to fill their infield, but the names on the list were just very unimpressive. Besides the two players that definitely intrigued me the most in Brandon Lau and Yandy Diaz, other names on the list were Spencer Thorkelson, Yohan Moncada, Brett Beatty, and even bringing back Justin Turner. Yes, unfortunately, we are at the point in the offseason where the names that the Mariners are based around, because so many names have already come off the board, that the names they are just based around are just very unamusing for Mariners fans. But there is one player that I really wanted to discuss in this video, and I don't think this player will come as much of a surprise for most of you, and that player is Yandy Diaz. Now, I'm going to explain a little bit more why I think Yandy Diaz would be the perfect fit in Seattle, and just so you guys know his contract, Diaz is owed $10 million in 2025, and then he also does have a $12 million club option in 2026. Now, I'm sure most of you know this, but Yandy Diaz would basically be a perfect fit in the Seattle Mariners lineup. He's a career .288 hitter, 15% K rate, 11.3% walk rate, a career .130 WRC+, so the guy would be a perfect fit in a Mariners uniform. But I did kind of want to go over where I think he would come into this lineup, because as we know, they are looking for a weak side platoon at first base with Luke Raley. But the obvious thing is that if you do get Yandy Diaz, you do not want him to be just a platoon. You want him in the lineup every single day. But I kind of wanted to show why he would be a perfect fit as the platoon kind of guy, but I'll explain why I don't want him in that role. But he would be a perfect fit from facing left-handed pitchers. I posted this tweet yesterday that since 2021 versus left-handed pitchers, he has 641 plate appearances, a .320 batting average, a .159 WRC+, a .917 OPS, and only an 11.7% K rate. So these stats alone tell you that Yandy Diaz absolutely mashes against left-handed pitching. He is an overall great hitter, but he absolutely loves facing left-handed pitchers. So obviously for that reason, he would be a perfect fit over at first base with Luke Raley to have obviously Yandy face lefties and Luke Raley face righties, because Luke Raley absolutely mashes right-handed pitching as well. So now, like I said, if you do get somebody like Yandy Diaz, you're going to want him to play every single day. But the thing is this trade really doesn't make sense, and unfortunately a lot of trades this offseason won't really make sense if you still have a Mitch Haniger contract on the roster. Just because this causes a massive logjam at the DH spot with having so many different guys that can fill in at DH. But in my opinion, if you were to go out and get Yandy Diaz, I want him going from first base and DH while Luke Raley is mixing in reps at first base and the outfield. This ensures that both of them are going to get a lot of playing time. Both will easily play a minimum of 120 games if that is possible, playing, first base DH for Yandy Diaz as well as the outfield and first base for Luke Raley, mixing in, like I have said before, mixing in Luke Raley on days off for like Victor Robles, Julio, all those guys in the outfield, because as we know, Luke Raley is still a very good baseball player himself, and you still want to get him as many ABs as possible. But again, you can't get Yandy those guaranteed at-bats by, if he's not going to play first base every single day, you'd have to slot him in at DH, but he's not going to get those at-bats if you have so many guys at DH. So unfortunately, that is just the reality of the situation, is unless you get rid of one of those big contracts of one of the Mitches, it is kind of almost impossible to have a guy mix in at first base and DH, because there's just so many guys that can fit in at the DH spot. And I'm sure some of you are watching this video thinking of the beef that we know that Randy Arozarena and Yandy Diaz and their wives had not too long ago. But again, this is professional baseball. They got to go play baseball. Hopefully the clubhouse is fine. It's not really something to worry about. Apparently they have moved past it according to an article that I have read, so hopefully that is not an issue and really shouldn't be an issue for why the Mariners wouldn't trade for him. So now here is another issue in order to trade for Yandy Diaz, is as we know by certain reports that the Tampa Bay Rays are looking for MLB ready talent, which is very unfortunate for the Seattle Mariners, who have a lot of minor league prospects that they could get off, but obviously the Rays do not want to get that many prospects. Now, this article did come out from MLB Trade Rumors yesterday that's saying that the Rays have previously expressed interest in Harry Ford, but obviously this is not a very relevant article because this is talking about something that was in the past when they had been discussing trades, because as we know, the Mariners and Rays make a lot of trades. As they were discussing, the Rays showed a lot of interest in Harry Ford, so this is not saying today at this very moment that they have interest in Harry Ford. And it is very tough for Harry Ford because as we know, Cal Raleigh is our every single day catcher, and hopefully they can get the extension done, because that would be really painful if they couldn't. But then again, it is the Mariners and they're very cheap. But if they do plan on doing the extension for Cal, it really doesn't make sense to keep Harry Ford. So if I had to assume what this trade package would consist of, it would obviously probably start with Harry Ford, in my mind, Tyler Locklear, who is arguably MLB ready, and it kind of depends how the Rays see him, because he can slot in at their everyday first base role. So I really have not been able to put together a legit trade that would make sense, only because I'm not sure who the Mariners would be willing to give up at the major league level. As we know, they would probably get rid of a Mitch contract if they could, but I don't really see the Rays taking on something like that. So it would probably start with Harry Ford and Tyler Locklear, and then move to maybe lower level MLB guys. So I think this doesn't really come as much a surprise. We know at the trade deadline that the Seattle Mariners had a lot of interest in Yandy Diaz, but the Rays were just asking too much. The Mariners were one of the final three teams, I think it was the Astros and the Yankees, that had expressed that insane interest for someone like Yandy Diaz, but the asking price for the Rays was just way too high. So I really do think if the Seattle Mariners can get rid of another MLB player like one of the Mitch's contracts, I think Yandy Diaz is the perfect fit in Seattle. He is a high average, hits for a little bit of power, not too much, and a very low K rate, and he's just a very good hitter. But otherwise, please let me know down in the comments what you think, if the Seattle Mariners should really trade for Yandy Diaz or not, or if there is another option that you think they should go after, like maybe someone like Spencer Thorkelson, which is really a weak side platoon with Luke Raley. But in my opinion, Yandy Diaz offers a lot more and can slide in at DH and first base, while Thorkelson is very much up in the air. But otherwise, I hope you guys did enjoy the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.